Hey, eighth grade, welcome back and happy Thursday. Don't forget, no school tomorrow. Let's jump right in. Let's talk about what it means to be a hashtag future ready beaver, okay? First off, we were builders and leaders, and we're also invested, eager learners, okay? Invested meaning you know that what you put into your education is going to help you in your future and make your world and the people around your lives better. Also, you'll know that if you're an eager learner, you're always looking for the interesting part of the lesson. Even if you feel like it's a little boring, there's always something to learn, whether it's in school or out. We hope you teach you that for, your days here in the building, but also beyond in the future. Today is the last day before midterms, so remember when you show up on Monday, switch into Flex 2 classes, and then we're going into your B electives as well. And don't forget, we're going to send midterm reports home next week. And so if you're not so thrilled about your grades, keep working, and we should get through it, all right? I see on the video my mask here. I'll just remind you, we have to stay diligent, okay? We talked a lot about trying to be in this together, and a good portion of you guys are being very, very thoughtful about your masks. But I will level with you. This is by far the worst the pandemic's been in our area of the world here in Power County in American Falls. By far, it's the worst it's ever been since March, and this is the worst we've ever had it, okay? And we want to stay in school, we want to keep people healthy, but a lot of you guys are starting to know people who've had it. Some of them have been sick, some have been very sick, and at least one person in our area and a few more in Pocatello have lost their lives, okay? It's a sacrifice, but it's one worth making, right here. And we get lots of friendly reminders, but the reminders are going to become less friendly, and then we'll call home. And so you guys that are doing your part to keep us all safe, and remember, yeah, we're healthy. It doesn't affect kids, whatever you may hear out there, but it can affect kids, and you don't ever know who someone's going home to, an older person or somebody with some bad conditions. But I was telling Mrs. Bollinger today, a baseball player from my favorite team, athlete in the prime of his life, got hit pretty hard by COVID at the start of the year, and he was a little worried that he might pass away from it. So put these things on. If it's people think schools are being a little dramatic and say it's not life or death. Could be, okay? So if it could be, this is pretty simple, okay? So let's stay diligent with that. Thank you. We haven't talked in a couple weeks because last week we were doing voting and elections, and you guys did a great job. Congrats to all the candidates, yes, who are going to represent you, but also those that were brave enough to put themselves out there. Good job, good voting. Gabby B is your president, as we know. Ethan Crump, not that some weird guy on the loudspeaker said the wrong name. Ethan Crump is your VP, Secretary Whitney Hillier, Girls Rep Lila Alvarez, and Zahir Mancia, Boys Rep. I've been busy enough that I haven't seen these guys as a group, but I can't wait to. It's going to be awesome. All right. Today, remember 2 weeks ago, we talked about the 7 Habits crash course, because yes, we're talking about a new kind of sequel to this book, excuse me. I combined book and big. But we're going to talk about 6 big decisions, but we're kind of using the language of the 7 habits. So hopefully that was a good refresher a couple weeks ago. All right. So out of the 6 decisions, let's hop into decision number 1. This is all about school. Surprise, surprise. Okay. And you may think it's not a decision. You have to come to school legally, all those things your parents force you. Hopefully you don't feel that way. But certainly your reaction to it and what you put into it is a big choice. So that's choice number 1, all right? From there, this quote's from Sean Covey in his book. What you do about school during your teen years will probably determine how well you live the next 50 years, all right? So, and that's a big part of being a teen and then into your 20s, that 5-10 years of decision making can last a lifetime, all right? So that's where we start, and yes, it can apply to school for sure, okay? He, in his book, gives just a little preview of the 4 sections of this chapter, starting with sticking it out. You may think that, who in your class, is there anybody that's a danger of being a high school dropout? I'm not asking you to think about people or anything like that, but it does happen. Yeah, and it doesn't mean that their lives are over. It just puts them on a challenging path from there on. So his first section is for people who are maybe into the future feeling like that could be something in the back of their mind. Sean Covey's going to try to give you a little motivational talk. After that, he'll get into the stress and just motivation and all the various kind of challenges that you may face in school. And then 3rd and 4th section, off to college. For those that are thinking they want to get some post-secondary stuff, that's a picture of Oxford College, my dream college, didn't attend there. And then the last section of this chapter is finding your voice, and it talks about at school we're curious about or interested in, helping you get to college, but also what happens after that. Okay, so trying to get you ready for a successful future wherever it may be. So before we get into any of that, Sean has in his book, Sean Covey, a little quiz. All right. So if you could turn to page 22 in your agenda, and maybe you don't even have an agenda. So homeroom teachers in 8th grade, if you could help me out, if you need to pause the video for a second. But grab your agenda, all right? We're going to need it. And turn to page 22. There's a little note page on there. I have a vague memory of using this before. I'm getting old. I don't have a very strong memory anymore. But maybe it was with this grade. So if we've used this already, I think there's still probably room on there. So page 22, and we're going to have a 10-question quiz about just kind of, there's no right or wrong answer, but almost like a checkup, like that little teddy bear guy's doing. So just as you stand now in school, we're just going to see how you're doing with this big choice, all right? So if you're somebody who likes to plan ahead, you can number 1 to 10. We're just going to put a little number score on each question. So you may have to listen to me pretty well. I bet you can't read that super well. So for each of these, you're going to put a 1, which is like that statement is in no way true. And then you have a scale of 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5, the highest, is like, yes, that's definitely true for me, all right? So if you can see that, great. I'll try to move to the side and I'll read them relatively slow. Number 1, I am planning on finishing high school. If you're like, yeah, then put a 5, okay? But if it's a little bit of a challenge or you're not sure, maybe it's a 2 or 3 or even a 1. So if you're for sure, it's a 5, planning on graduating. Number 2, I am planning on getting more education after high school. Maybe not a 4-year degree, maybe a secondary, like a community college or a trade school. But if you're planning on going somewhere after high school, for sure, give yourself a 5. If you're iffy, 4, so on and so on. You get it. Number 3, I believe that a good education is essential for my future. As an English teacher, I think that sometimes we gloss over words. Essential means that you have to have it, okay? Not like, maybe I should go to school, or if I get a diploma, great. So if you don't believe that you absolutely have to have a good education for your future life, don't put a 5. If you're not really convinced of that, put a 2 or 3. There's no right or wrong answers, promise. 4, I am working hard at school, currently, right now, these 6 weeks, in this new, interesting school environment that we're in because of the pandemic. Are you working hard? 100% you're giving your best effort. Give yourself a 5. You could do better, maybe 2, 3. All right. I'm going to go right to the next 4 questions. Homeroom teachers, if you want to fill the room and see if they're done, maybe pause for a second. But we're going through 5 through 8, I believe. Number 5, I am getting good grades. Okay. And good is, I guess, a bit subjective. I don't know how you would define that for yourself. But right now, midterms, getting good grades. Heck yes, 5. Got straight A's. Not so much 2 or 1. Number 6 question. I am involved in extracurricular activities at school. Extracurricular is not, I think, a real common word in young people's vocab. What we're talking about is a sport or drama or music. Okay, if it's like soccer, it's not an official school-sanctioned sport, but I would count it. Okay, you're in an extra activity. All right, and he includes that because we all know that is a pretty big indicator of success. You can have a great experience and not be involved in a sport or extracurricular, but your odds of enjoying and getting something out of school certainly go up. So if you're involved in extracurricular activities, like 50 of them, put a 5. Okay, if you're in student council, you've got drama, whatever. Yearbook is almost an extracurricular. But if you really just come to school and don't worry about anything else, give yourself a 1 or 2. Okay? And again, not the wrong answer. 7. I am keeping up with my assignments here at school and at home. All right, we go into your grade book. Are there missing assignments? If you're 100% caught up, 5. If you've got a bunch of zeros, maybe a 1. Number 8, I am keeping my stress levels in check. That is part of school. We have both ends of the spectrum, all right? Some kids just don't seem super at all like they care. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe when we get down to it, you really do. And there's some that they care, and it keeps their stress level pretty high. So is that pretty well in check? If you come to school and you're just kind of zen and chill, and you're at home and you're chill, give yourself a 4 or 5, all right? If you're stressed, maybe give yourself a 1, because it's not true. 9 and 10, I'm able to balance school with everything else that I'm doing. I know a lot of you guys do have multiple sports, or yearbook or some family responsibilities or even working, some of you guys. So are you balancing things all right in your busy schedule? If so, great, give yourself a 5. Number 10, I spend time thinking about and exploring what I want to be when I grow up. You are busy, you've got social media to check and schoolwork to do and working with families probably, right? But if you ever think about what really do I want to do when I grow up, which is a question you'll get a lot from old people like me, especially when you get to be in high school. But if you at least spend some time of like, what does the 10 years from now look like for me, or even 5 years from now? Give yourself a high score. If you spend at least a little bit of time throughout months of the year thinking about this stuff. All right, so those are our 10 questions. You should have a score, 1 through 5 on all of those. So go ahead and look at those and add them up. All right, go down the column and just add them. And so this is a checkup out of 50. So there's as possible as 50 if you gave yourself all 5s. But we're going to look at what those scores mean in just a second. Another good place, if I'm going way too fast, I want to make the video as short as possible. So homeroom teachers, you could pause here if you want. All right? What do those scores mean? Well, first off, nothing really. It's just a self-evaluation. And it doesn't mean that you're broken or unintelligent or school is not for you. All right? But there's no growth without personal reflection, without saying, how am I doing? And it's personal, really. It's not for me to tell you. And it's also, you can't blame people for your other parts of your problems. That's habit 1, be proactive. So let's see how you did. And if you don't love your score, it's easy. You can start changing it, all right? So if you added things up and you've got between 40 and 50, this is just a picture from Sean's book. Hopefully you can see it. If you have between a 40 and 50, he says you're on the high road or the highway. You're doing super great. Keep it up, okay? So between 40 and 50. And I know in the classroom you might be comparing with friends, but maybe keep it to yourself and just reflect, all right? So 40 to 50, doing good. 39 to 30, 30 to 39, excuse me. You're straddling the high and low roads, move to higher ground. It's a metaphor that he's saying you want to be on the road that takes you to success. So you're kind of in the middle. There's some habits or things that you're doing that are probably fine, but you're in the gray area, the danger zone. If you, and remember, this was your own scoring. Nobody tested you on this. These were your own answers. If you gave yourself between 10 and 29, he says you're on the low road. Pay special attention to this chapter and these pod lessons. Okay, and if anybody's ever wanting more information about Sean Covey's work, just let me know. But you may need to make some changes if you have that low score. All right? So to wrap up today, this is a quote that I'm trying to still brighten up or redecorate my office to go into the new fancy school that we have. This has long been one of my favorite quotes from ancient Greek playwright Euripides, and it's in different language that we're not used to, but he says, "Whoso neglects learning in his youth loses the past and is dead to the future," meaning you don't really learn the lessons of the past and your parents and the world and history, and their future is going to be maybe non-existent. So when you're young, it's actually easier to learn. You have this great opportunity in school and out of school to learn. Please don't lose that opportunity. So thanks for reflecting on your school habits right now. We'll talk more about this chapter next week. Remember, no school tomorrow. Have a great day. See you.